If I have said this once, I am going to say it like 1,000 times. I am not a professional podcaster and or YouTuber or anything like that. I talk with my hands a lot. I don't really run with a script and I don't overly produce this podcast or anything. I don't do a ton of editing. And so here we go. You're welcome to what we are diving into today. So first of all, we have to do a little bit of housekeeping, okay? So last week, I was blown away by the response that I got for showing up here and doing this the way that I'm doing it. And so with that, that actually gave me the boost of confidence and just like courage to go ahead and jump in full on with what I have had on my mind now for 2 years. I have been thinking of this and I'm like, do I want to do it? I'm like, here we are. We're doing it. We're doing it. So I came up with the name Here with Hilary several years ago. Like it's been about 4 years now. It felt cute. It felt fun. It felt like a fun, like little play on my name. But if I'm honest, it has not really like resonated with me the way that I would want it to. It felt like a cute brand, but all about me. And that's not what I want to build. And on the days where I don't want to create content, I don't really want to show up online, what actually keeps me doing it is you. It's people like you who watch podcasts like mine or content like mine and say, "Man, this is for me. This helped me today," that kind of thing, right? Like I believe it's Genesis 12:2 where God is telling Abraham that, "Hey, I'm about to make you someone like I'm going to make your name great so that other people will know like to come to you. You're going to be a source of great good to others," right? So that is why God made Abraham's name what it was. And so for me, I'm like, that's the mindset that I have with my platforms online is that I just want it to get out there so that I can be a source of good to you. So with all of that being said, Here with Hilary wasn't bad. It was cute, it was fun, and it was kind of just about me. And that's not the energy that we want to keep here, okay? So, drum roll. I wish I had a fancy way to do this, but I'm just going to tell you now. The new name of the podcast is The Transformation Department. And so I am working on the branding of it all, so we don't have a cute tagline yet or anything like that, but what we do have is a name, and I will do a branding shoot probably for it and all the fun things. It'll be a good time. And yeah, so welcome to the Transformation Department, and I am your host, Hilary. This is a podcast and community for people who are ready to change their lives, and we're going to do it through communication, accountability, awareness, all of these different things. So when I talk about communication, and sorry, I'm like, I have notes, guys. I'm a little more prepared than last week. I have some notes written down. I have some notes on my computer. So if you see me like look around and stuff, that's why. But anyway, so when it comes to communication, I mentioned last week that there are different ways that we all communicate, right? And we are going to like I feel like the topic of communication is something that we can just keep like unpacking and unpacking and unpacking together as we move forward. But I have developed something that I told you guys is like my little brain baby here. It's a passion project turning into what will be a part of my book, a part of resources to come, a part of fun stuff. Okay. I've been working on this project for months and it is called the 9 modes of awareness. So I want to go ahead and dress something just right off the jump. Um, I don't want anyone to, if you're a Christian, if you're a believer in Jesus, I don't want you to think that this is any sort of like replacement theology for um the power of renewing your mind, of submitting things to the mind of Christ, to replacing Holy Spirit and discernment with anything like this. No. I just think, and this is where I mentioned last week, I am working on just saying things with my full chest, right? Just like say things with my chest, and trust that even if I have some brothers and sisters of the faith that disagree with me, it is fine. But I just want to put this out there. This is a belief that I have, and this is part of why I have gotten into this work of developing this project and bringing it out into the world. I believe that we are, yes, when you come into relationship with Jesus and you have been made new in Christ, right? Like all of that. We have access to things that we never had access to before, right? Like amazing, beautiful life ahead, and like amazing things, right? None of that is up for debate with me. That's all still there. And we are on this planet. We are in these bodies right now. And sometimes the way that we were wired up through our circumstances, our exposures, our experiences has changed up some of the chemistry of what we're working with in these bodies and with these brains. And because of that, I believe in developing tools like this that support your walk of your faith. Now, if you're not a person of faith, this episode, my content is still for you. I never want you to feel like you don't belong here. You absolutely belong here. If anything, I like you sometimes more than I like people that believe like me. So, or at least claim to. So, I just my my kitty jumped on this. Listen, here's the other thing about this, guys. I'm a mom of 2. Um, I work from home, and I'm very strict around my work time, my work hours. I didn't used to be. I used to work a lot, and I used to do a lot of things, um, where it was pulling me away from experiencing a whole lot of life with my kids and stuff. And so anyway, so we just keep it real here. Like last week, I had laundry going in the background. It went off during the episode. This week, my cat jumped on the desk. I said this last week, but we are renovating my office space that is actually detached from the house. And so I cannot wait for that. Okay. But anyway, that will be the studio. That'll be like where we talk and we do our things. But so let's get into everything. So, like I said, this is, if you're a believer, this is not replacement theology for anything. This is not like, ooh, your birthday was on this day, and so you are naturally supposed to be whatever way. Like, no, this is me taking the context of who you are, the nuance of your experiences and exposures, and then just listening to enough people to where I've said, you know what? These people kind of operate a certain way. They think a certain way and they talk a certain way. And what if I could break that down to help people become self-aware? So whether you are in the like regular workforce, whether you're an entrepreneur, a family situation, or even in circumstances where you're a pastor or you've been in a church setting and you see people fall short, right, of accountability and things like that. What is like one of the main things that we all know, if this person was fill in the blank, we could have avoided this whole situation, right? Like we could have it's self-aware. A lot of times people are just not self-aware. And so they may believe in Jesus. They may be one of the top leaders in their industry or their workplace, whatever. They may be the leader of the home, the leader of a team. They may be somebody that's an influencer or whatever. They could be like the top of the top in whatever thing that they're in life and still struggle with self-awareness to the point where they fall short, they disappoint others, whatever things. Okay. So that can happen with, I'm just painting a picture with like, that can happen with a range of people. I believe that if we get better at communicating, that can change the world. But first, better communication comes from self-awareness. Self-awareness can be established in everything from learning more about our natural way of thinking, processing information, operating. That's how we function and show up in the world. And then communicating? How are we talking? What's our self-talk like? And what is our talk like with others? Like, what does all that look like? Okay. So with me exploring this idea, I have felt like this is something that if more people would dig into this, it could help their relationships, their workplaces, all those places that I was talking about a second ago, schools, everywhere. I really do believe if people were aware of what's actually going on and then coming out through actions and words, um, I really think that we could not just change the world, but we could all be just happier. Like we could be experiencing better days. And anyways, that's a little hint at something for later, but I do believe that better dialogue creates better days. And so that's starting with your inner dialogue and then going to the outer dialogue and how you show up in the world and interact with others. Okay. So now that I've shared all of that, I'm going to be looking at my notes more and everything because I want to introduce you to a series that I am calling From Autopilot to Awareness. Okay. And this is where we're going to go through the 9 modes of awareness that I believe change everything. If we could identify where we land with these modes, then we could understand ourselves better and I think understand the people around us a lot easier. Okay. And so this week, I want to talk about when you know, or hold on, when what you know keeps you from trusting yourself. When it comes to all the different modes of awareness, we are going to start with the advisor. Okay. So when what you know keeps you from trusting yourself, the advisor is someone who thinks deeply, they seek accuracy, they seek understanding. They feel safe when things make sense. They believe that it's best, or at its best, the advisor is going to be turning complexity into clarity. They speak to people in a way where they're like, okay, I can't wait for the lights to just like come on. They are natural born teachers and guides and mentors. Their values, they hold to the highest value, knowledge and competency. So if I know enough, I feel secure, like that kind of thing. So what I want to also introduce to you is that with these modes, we have this mode that we're in. So advisor is the one we're covering today, but with every mode, there is a resonant side. So when things are resonating with you, it feels good. Like your thoughts are good, your actions are good, your words are good, right? Like everything's working together. It's all resonating. And then there's the other side when you are in resistance. So you are resisting whatever it is. Like something in you is throwing a wall up and you're like, "Nope, bye." And you're out. You're done. Okay? So resonance and resistance. So resonance with an advisor sounds like simplifying without dumbing down. Like you're helping someone like turn the lights on. You maybe if you're not an advisor naturally, then you maybe experience somebody like this in your life. Um they use they use what they know to equip rather than impress. So that's from a place of resonance, like they're at peace with themselves. They don't need to prove anything. Also, they teach with empathy. They share wisdom that helps others move forward. Like I said, they want to see the lights come on for other people. Now, when they are in a place of resistance, when they're a place of resistance, this is when they are not being like they're not in a place where they're functioning like their best self. Okay. And so they overthink big time. They are over analyzing every move, everything. They hide behind logic and or credentials. They discredit emotion and intuition because it's like, prove it. Like, let me see how that actually works. And they may talk to others in a way that makes people feel dumb or less than because they're more knowledgeable. They they mistake having control for clarity. They think just because I'm controlling this means I'm clear. And that's not always true. But with somebody who functions from a place of knowledge and competency, that it's easy for those things to get confused when something has pushed you to a place of resistance in your body. Okay? So, um, a good way to look at this is when the advisor gets resistant, they forget that understanding isn't just intellectual, it's emotional and spiritual too. So sometimes they can forget that kind of thing. Okay. So I got permission from one of my friends to share a story about something that I just helped her work with. So she is an advisor just naturally. She is somebody who I have had a relationship with now. I've had proximity to for over 2 years. And so during this time I've really gotten to know her, her communication style. I can hear just because I feel like God honestly made me good at, like, connecting these certain things, but that's a different conversation for a different day, but I can hear in her how naturally she is, like, an advisor type of person. The way that she thinks, like, I can hear it through the way that she's communicating and by the decisions and the actions that she is taking. And so, I can hear it when she's in a place of resonance versus a place of resistance, and when my friend is in a place of resistance, I get curious. Um Especially when I know circumstances that she's walking through, and so she has given me full permission to share a little nugget of her story, and things right now. So, which is awkward because it's like, man, I wish that we were just, like, on the podcast together, which we'll probably do that together at some point, but she did give me permission to, like she's like, "Hillary, you need to share this on your podcast." I'm like, okay, because she has been, like, my cheerleader, like, behind the scenes for me to do this for a while now, so here we go. So she is currently going through a separation. And in this separation, she really gave it her all. She maxed out on options when it came to saving the marriage, preserving the marriage, and doing what she needed to do for it. And she was pushed to a place of it is time to leave for her safety, like for her to be in the best position. Okay. So with that came a lot of change. She didn't really take much with her whenever she left, and she was put in a situation where now she got to an apartment. This apartment had pests and all these different things going on. It was this whole thing, and within a week's time she negotiated with the property management, and they were like, "Hey, we want to take care of you. We are so sorry that this is what you're dealing with. We would love to put you in a different spot." Sounds like everything's working out in this situation, right? Like if you're in that situation, you're thinking, thank God, like these people are going to take care of me. They're going to make it right. They've got a spot open for me, right? But when we are in resistance, no matter what mode we are in, certain situations can trigger something in us that blocks us from a blessing, that blocks us from abundance coming in our life to like where God's like looking out for us and making a way for us. Sometimes we block those ways getting made because something gets triggered and brought up, right? And so, boom, there's the wall. Now I'm meeting resistance. So she was meeting that. For the first couple of days while she was processing, do I move into this apartment or not? Do I do this or not? We're talking every day. Like we talk every day throughout the whole day through voice notes. And she's telling me through voice notes for a couple of days what she's thinking about, what she's considering, how she's kind of like weighing these options of staying in the apartment. That's like, do I really want to stay in this unit or do I want the opportunity to move into this other one that's actually way better, way more room and everything? And it's like, whoa, like I'm sitting here thinking, how do you not see? You know what I mean? Like, how do you not see like what's working out? But I don't say that because, again, when you learn about these modes of awareness and you learn how to hear people well, and you're someone like me who overly like sometimes I have in the past I can over and I've probably have friends who are going to be like, "Yup," whenever they hear me say this, but I can overly, like, jump in too soon into a conversation, into a story, into something, and try to, like, help and whatever, and it's like sometimes you just need to sit back and just listen, and even just listen for, like, days. And that's what I did. So for a couple of days, I didn't leave her feeling like I wasn't responding. It was just support responses. It wasn't my take, it wasn't my opinion, it wasn't my advice, anything like that, okay? So, which is not normal for me. Normally, I tell her like, "Well, hey, have you thought about blah blah blah?" So I didn't though. I didn't. With intention, I kept my mouth shut. And because I knew, oh my gosh, she is so in resistance right now because this is out of character for her. It is out of character for her to not be able to just make a clear decision and just do what she needs to do. This is not like her at all. I know my friend, I know this person, the proximity that I have to her and her situation, I'm like, whoa, you know? So through that, a couple of days passed, she's sharing with me what she's thinking about, processing all of it. And I told her at one point, I said, "If I were you, I'd probably go for the apartment." And I just like left it at that. I didn't add to that. I didn't say why. And then she responded back with a short message too and said, "You're right. Like, I know you're right," or something like that. Okay. So then I wait and we just continue talking about other stuff. And she continues processing with me because I'm here to be a safe space for my friend. Okay. So then next day, I feel like it was like next day or the day after that, within the a couple of days, okay, she comes back to me and says, "Hey, I was doing morning pages." So morning pages, if you're not aware of what morning pages is, it is kind of like a journaling practice that can help you just like kind of get out what is stored up. Okay. So that's the best way for me to explain it. You get out what is stored up in you. You wake up first thing in the morning and you just write and you write and write and write and you maybe set a time limit, but you just get out everything. So many of us are just walking around with all of everything from like last week, months ago, years ago. Some of that stuff you kind of can't help, but a lot of the little things that happen like day to day, that's stuff that we should just like go ahead and get up and out, right? Well, that is a practice that she does all the time. She's always just like getting things out. And that was when it hit her. She recognized that she was in resistance, but she didn't know how to name that yet. And so she said something to me where I was like, okay, now I can say something. So by that point, she shared something with me, and my response was, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you said this because I have felt like you're in a place of resistance a little bit here, and here's what I hear." And so I reflected back to her what I heard from the place of advisor, okay? Advisor being, you are analyzing the heck out of this. Why is it not okay for you to make this kind of decision? And like, what is blocking you right now from seeing this, you know? And so I kind of paint this picture of her and I said, "This is what I think you would sound like if you were in resonance right now. Like, if everything was resonating, you're just like, you're being like who God designed you to be, you know, like you're in alignment with that, then like, bet, like, this is what I know you would be like. And so this is what I'm hearing though instead. What do you think about that?" You know, and we open up this conversation. So technically, she knows that's when I'm putting my coach hat on and I'm coaching her through something about awareness so that she can become aware, so that she can make a decision for herself, not me dive in and fix something for her. You know, that doesn't I don't believe in that. I don't believe in, you know, doing that. I'm like, "No, bro, I'm about to teach you how to fish. Like, I will never give you fish. I'm going to teach you how." So, with that, it opened up a lot. And I always explain when I coach people, I try to get people to see that I am the strength and conditioning coach. I am not the head coach, with whatever it is that you got going on. That's not the role that I play. I don't believe that that's the role that God designed me to play. I believe that God designed me to play the role of the strength and conditioning coach. So as in, you are running the play that you're supposed to do. So act like she has a business coach that has told her to go do whatever things in her business. So she's running out there and she's taking care of business, but she catches a cramp. Who's she going to come off the field to? Who's going to go out there? It's strength and conditioning. It's the trainer. It's those people, right? Okay, so that's me. That's me. I'm the person working with you in the off season. When you're taking a break from the main thing that you're doing, like I'm the one keeping your stamina up, keeping you in alignment to who you are, all of that. So you keep your focus. So when you go back on the field, you're ready to go. That's me. So when my friend is over here catching a cramp, as in doing things out of her character, in enough where I'm like, hey, what's going on? I end up telling her, I'm like, "Hey, I think you caught a cramp. And so are you good with me helping you stretch it out?" This is how I communicate as a coach. And she's like, "Yes, please." And I'm like, "Okay." And I said, "Well, here's the thing. What you responded to me with sounds like you're stretching a muscle, but it's not the muscle that I was actually saying was going on here." So she's like, "Wait, what do you mean?" So here's what happened. When I first said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you shared this with me because this is what I'm thinking." What happened is she responded with saying, "You know what, though? I don't think that this is much of a me thing. I think it's because of the money. And I think the money involved with this decision is coming from the fact that when I was younger, I was taught that money decisions should not be made from a place of emotion." Which, is there some truth to that, everybody? Yes, there is. Like we want to be responsible, right? We want to be responsible, but like we have to consider the role that these words are playing when we make decisions about something for the present or future when it's from the past, you know? So, um, at first, she said that she felt like it was something, from her childhood, from her family, from exposure that she had to people mishandling things back then. Then it went to her in-laws, the lifestyle that they live, and the one that she is pretty much vowed to say, that's never going to be me. And then it went to a few other things where people have really just burnt bridges with her, done her wrong, and it's financially put her in bad situations. Like, it's just not it creates, like, instability, right? Okay, that is all relevant information for me to know as a coach and friend helping her work through something. But what it is not, it's not us getting to the root of this issue, though. Because as soon as we look at other people and we say, you know what, I don't know that this is as much of a me thing as it is just my response to the way I was brought up to believe about this thing. And so I'm looking through the lens that they gave me at my situation. Sorry, like this is the lens they put in front of me. And that as soon as we come into agreement with that narrative, here's what happens. And this is what I explained to her. I said, you have literally given them your power. What has happened is the power that you would be like running on the field with, like that power. Excuse me. I should have grabbed water before I started. Wait, I have a little bit of coffee left. Okay. So the power that she was lacking in all of that, the power happened where so I told her, "Hey, you're looking like right in front of you right now is an outlet. And when you plug into that, that's like when she's getting connected to who God created her to be, right? Like you are you, and you're good and all of that." It got unplugged, it got disconnected. And in that time, when you said that it was because of these other people, it was as if you handed the plug to them and they just ran. So, this is where I introduce you to another layer of the 9 modes of awareness. I When I was going through one of the biggest changes of my life, like the biggest change of my life, and coming to Jesus and all of this, what I found out is that there was a lot of things in my life that were lost, broken, and disconnected. And several months ago now, God gave me a almost what felt like a blueprint and of helping people find and like locate what's been lost, reconnect or hold on, heal, even just address like what's been broken and have awareness around that, and then work on now how do we connect what's been disconnected. Okay. So that's what I was walking her through. That's a part of like the stretch is addressing what is lost, broken, disconnected here so that we can, when we locate that thing, we fix that thing, we reconnect that thing, and you got your power back. That's when we plug back in. Okay. So I explained to her how, hey, when you hand that plug off to them, they ran. So your power is lost right now. You allowed them to take it as soon as you believed the narrative that said they are the reason, like their influence, your exposure to their way of living and all of that and the way that they handle money is like part of your determining factors right now. It's the filter that you're seeing your situation through on how you're rationalizing robbing yourself of a blessing. Like you're keeping yourself from something because of the way that others have lived. Whoa. You know, but you can't just call people out like that and say that. I don't believe that that's where I think things get lost in communication. That's where I think friends try to help their friends and then the friends end up having like butting heads and having an issue. It's because you're not taking into consideration when you're trying to help somebody, it's not about you. It's not. So if I just called her out and said things like, you're letting them rob you of a blessing and blah, 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 blah. No, that is not helpful. So instead I said, hey, when you believe that, you're letting them just run away with your power. And now you're sitting here feeling powerless. And here's what was also going on. When we have a mode that we operate in primarily, that doesn't mean that we don't have other things that we sometimes tap into. So like I've mentioned in the last podcast episode, there are 9 modes of awareness. I listed them all out. So for my friend, her primary is advisor. That is how she naturally communicates, operates, thinks, everything, okay? But she has a few other ones that are like the sub ones, the ones that she just taps into here and there. Every time I heard her sound like communicate like one of the other ones, it was almost as if, but she was so quick to shut it down and say, but that's not going to work, or that's not a reason enough to do this, or that's not. And I'm like, whoa. It's one thing to shut down other people that you disagree with or, you're not seeing eye to eye, that kind of thing. But I think something that we don't talk about enough is that internal wrestle, that internal dialogue where we are discrediting our own selves. And I was like, wait a minute. Why is it when you say that, that's not worth trusting? Why? But it was because she was believing so much about what these other people have done when it comes to their money. So, when I said that and I said, hey, they're running with that. We're stretching right now. This stretch is me telling you this is the muscle that we actually have to work out because you talking about that, it is helpful. It is helpful to recognize what things have been a part of our thought life and why and all of that, right? Like that's important. We all, if you're in therapy, like we all kind of do that. We all kind of go through the things from our past, from our past that are influencing and impacting our current and all of that, right? So that's all relevant information. For me, as a coach, I take it in as context and nuance. Like I need that stuff to know where your head's at, but we're not going to talk about them. We're going to talk about you. So as soon as that got addressed, she was like, oh my gosh, she said, and I was like, now listen, if I just said too much, it's okay if you're like Hillary, because another thing that I do is I say like, hey, I just want to submit this to you and please just be curious about it. If you feel like this isn't for you of what I'm saying and my take on it, throw it away. It's fine. Like, because we can talk about it another way. Like, I'm not committed to me. I'm committed to you and helping you if I'm showing up for you like this as my friend. So she says, no, 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 no. I feel like a weight just lifted. Like I felt like, oh, like, wow. And so she was like, I can get my power back. Like, I can do that. I'm like, yes, you do it just right now. You just decide I'm not believing that anymore. I'm not believing that I'm wrestling with this decision because of that. Maybe you're wrestling, like you are wrestling, but I think it might be about something else. So that's when things got a little deeper. The stretch really got stretched. That's when I said, hey, you know, essentially, I asked a series of questions that got her to the point where she realized, because I said, like, what I really would love to know is, when is the last time that you took a risk that was something similar to this and it paid off? When's the last time that you did trust yourself before overanalyzing every single bit of it and you just took a step of faith and it worked? When's the last time that that happened? So we talked through all of that, and we talked through what disrupted that. Is because I said the first thing that you lost, because she knows my method of lost, broken, disconnected. I said the first thing that you lost was not your power. You gave that away after you already lost something else. You did that when I addressed it. You did that. So now that we got that back, let's go to what you actually are wrestling with here and what actually got lost. And I said, I feel like there's a version of you that hasn't always felt this way, and hasn't always struggled with this kind of thing. Well, with her story, she was someone who took a lot of risk. She grew up in a very terrible environment, and she removed herself from that as soon as she could. She took a major risk and moved across the country to live somewhere that was like a dream destination, and this whole thing, went to college, did the things, was living, you could say, like, her best little life, right? Doing all the things. And then unfortunately her a family member passed. And when that happened, life stopped. And there was a lot of things going on around that time for her that was, you could say, kind of the seed of doubt to come in of, we need to be different about how we do things from here on out. And then when you get in relationship later on with somebody who chips away at your identity over and over and over, then you realize, when you're sitting in a new apartment deciding if you're going to stay in that one with pests all around or you're moving into a new one, what one do you want to do? You realize, dang, the version of me that would have known that this was great to do and all of that, she got lost a long time ago. And so I told her, when that person in your family, whenever they passed, it sounds like you were free flowing. You're going through life, you're doing your thing, and everything's like free flowing like a river. And as soon as that person passed, boom, a dam was built. And it was just right there, blocked the water from flowing anymore. And then you start going through life a lot differently. You made decisions differently. You showed up in life differently because you were grieving. Like, it just is what it is. That's all. It just is what it is. And then you meet somebody. No one gets married intending on divorce, right? So you meet someone, you're with him, everything is supposed to go a certain way, and here we are again. And it's not going that way. And here we are again in grief. And I said, but what's crazy is, what if you could see that everything that you're maybe feeling a little regret about, and maybe you're more timid and more nervous and are wrestling with a little bit of fear here and things around spending money and all of that. Maybe it's because of what these last several years have done. But what if I told you, hey, you aren't who you were back then. You can trust yourself to make another good decision. And every time that you feel overwhelmed about a decision, but you know that this is a good thing happening in your life, what if you could see it as, I am chipping away at that dam, and eventually that water of who I am, like, all of that is just going to flow again. And she was like, yeah, she was like, you know what? Like, this is just about acceptance, and like accepting that, like, this version of me, cuz here's the truth. She was like, Hillary, I am such an advisor. n- my thought life is like that, right? Like, I think like one, I knew the signs that I was seeing, like, in her marriage. I knew the signs I was seeing. I knew I should have known better. Why didn't I listen to myself? Why didn't I? And I was like, "Now that's where that resistance is coming from. Because of this, you don't trust yourself with that," you know? And so, anyway, I hope that this kind of, like, paints a picture of an advisor for you. If you are someone who feels like you're an advisor at all, then I wanna share these, like, little nuggets with you really quick as just, like, reflections from this story. If you see yourself in these shoes, or maybe you have somebody in your life who's an advisor and now you're like, "Wait, that sounds like somebody I know," you know? Because most often you're gonna find out somebody's mode that they're operating in, that they're living in. You're gonna find that out by the way that they talk, the way that they communicate. And then as you listen to them more, you'll hear how they're thinking about something. You'll hear or you'll witness like how they're showing up in the world. And you're like, wow, that person really does do these things like that, and then you understand them better. So now your relationship is better. No matter what type of relationship it is, it can improve when you know this stuff. Okay. So whether this is for you or because of the people in your life, here are a few things that are reflections from this episode that I just want you to like sit with. Number one, the advisor's resistance is not from a place of ignorance. It's actually over-reliance on knowledge. So as in, I can't take this step of faith because I am relying way too much on knowing what I know. Okay. The next one is awareness isn't about knowing more. And this is specifically, again, for the advisor. This doesn't land with like everybody. Okay. Advisors are the ones who need knowledge and like all of that. Okay. Awareness isn't about knowing more, it's about trusting what you already know. I already know that I'm good with money, like this situation. I already know that I'm good with money. I already know that I'm a person of integrity. I already know that, you know what? Things have looked like a mess in the past and it has worked out. It can work out again, right? These are things that we know. Okay. And then last, when your logic drowns out your peace, that's not wisdom, that's resistance. When you can tell in your body you are not in a place of peace, that is your first sign you might be in resistance. And if you are, the goal is to get to a place of resonance. Okay. So, how can we do that? What is your activation for this week? So, at the end of every episode of the next 9 weeks, so I don't know if I told you guys this yet, but we're going to do 9 weeks of this. I'm going to hit on all 9 of the awareness modes. Okay. Modes of awareness. And with each one, there will be an activation at the end of the episode. And at the end of the 9 weeks, I will have some special things that I've been working on for you. So please hang out until then. It'll be perfect time for holidays, like all the things. Okay. So, when it comes to your activations, here are 3 things that I want you to do this week. Number 1, notice where you're over explaining or over researching. Most of the time, people around you, if they are your peers, they know a lot of what you know. So if you find yourself explaining something to somebody and they're like, yeah, yeah, like I get it, yeah, they already know. So then it's like, why am I over explaining? Now, sometimes it's just the way you talk, and that's okay. That's not bad. But if you are over explaining something that you know and you know that you are spending your wheels on it, that you are spending a little bit too much time doing some research and all the things, like, we need to notice that. We need to pay attention. Next, we need to ask, what am I afraid will happen if I just decide? Okay. What am I afraid will happen if I just decide? And then the third one is I want you to give yourself permission to trust what you already know. Like I just said. That's how we are going to move from reacting to resonating. And that's where the true transformation begins. Okay. So if this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to share it on Instagram and please tag me. If you want to send it to a friend, if you just have questions, maybe you feel like, wait a minute, I think I am an advisor. Like, I feel like that one, is something, then please reach out to me, ask me questions, and I can give you like little nuggets of things that you can sit with until resources come out at the end of this 9 weeks. So if you want to save the date, December 15th is when all the special goodies are going to come out because that is right after our 9 weeks. So just remember that when we're working on our awareness, then that's going to lead to better dialogue internally and externally, and better dialogue leads to better days. So come back next week. We are going to talk about affirmer. Affirmer is someone who is a motivator. They're a cheerleader of other people. They're the hype girl or hype dude. Like, they're that person, okay? And so if you feel like you either know those kind of people in your life or you yourself are that person, then you are not going to want to miss next week's episode.